As kings marched into war, queens faced a different kind of battle, one fought inside their own bodies. Some carried nearly 24 pregnancies, others brought children into the world while crossing kingdoms, and a few gave birth so often that midwives became part of the household. How did these women endure a life where motherhood never paused? Number 10. Catherine de' Medici. Catherine de' Medici didn't just wear a crown, she carried France on her back and in her belly. Between 1544 and 1556, she had 10 children, and 3 of them became kings. Every birth meant another gamble for power. Every baby could change the future of France. When her husband, King Henry II, died in a freak accident during a joust, everything fell on her. Her sons were too young to rule, so she became the real power behind the throne. She ran the kingdom from behind the curtains, negotiating peace, starting wars, and keeping her family on top in a country tearing itself apart. France at that time was split between Catholics and Protestants, and Catherine had to hold both sides from destroying each other. She's remembered for the St. Bartholomew's Day massacre in 1572, when thousands of Protestants were killed in Paris. Some called her a monster, others said she had no choice. It was either kill or lose the crown. What people forget is that Catherine lost more than power. She lost most of her children too. A few died before they were grown, and the rest turned against each other. She once said her sons were her enemies, but still her duty to protect. That one line says everything about her life. And while she fought to keep her kingdom alive, another woman across the sea was about to build 2 kingdoms of her own, one from love and one from rebellion. Number 9. Eleanor of Aquitaine. Eleanor of Aquitaine lived a life most people wouldn't believe even in stories. She had 10 children, 2 with the King of France and 8 with the King of England. Yes, she was married to both. 1 woman, 2 crowns, 2 rival nations. Her first marriage was to Louis VII of France. She gave him 2 daughters, but no sons, and that was a big problem in royal politics. Kings wanted heirs, not daughters. After years of tension and 1 failed crusade together, she asked for an annulment, and got it. Most queens would disappear after that, but Eleanor was different. Not long after, she married Henry Plantagenet, who soon became King Henry II of England. She was 30, he was 19, and together they created a dynasty that shaped Europe. She gave birth to 8 children, among them Richard the Lionheart and King John, 2 of England's most famous rulers. But motherhood didn't stop her from playing politics. She helped plan a rebellion against her own husband, supporting her sons when they turned on him. Henry eventually imprisoned her for over 15 years, yet when he died, her son Richard freed her, and she ruled again, even in her 70s. Eleanor wasn't only a queen, she was a survivor. Her bloodline joined France, England, and Spain. Her letters guided kings, and her courage outlived them all. And after her came another mother who raised saints and buried kingdoms, a queen who ruled while mourning half her children. Number 8. Blanche of Castile. Blanche of Castile never ruled from peace, she ruled from loss. She gave birth to 12 or maybe 13 children, and almost half of them died before reaching 10. Yet in the middle of all that grief, she raised 1 boy who became St. Louis IX of France, a king so devoted he was later made a saint by the church itself. Her husband, King Louis VIII, died young in 1226, leaving Blanche to rule as regent with a 12-year-old heir. Most nobles expected her to fail, but she was tougher than any man in her court. She led armies, negotiated with rebels, and even rode through battle lines wearing armor beneath her cloak. France survived because she refused to give up. At home, she balanced being both queen and mother. She kept her son close, teaching him discipline, fasting, and prayer. Some chroniclers said she would rather see him dead than sinful. And she meant it. Louis grew up with that same strict faith, building cathedrals, banning gambling, and leading crusades. Blanche's rule lasted decades, through famine, revolt, and endless childbirth. Her letters show a woman always half in mourning, but never without purpose. She carried a nation in one hand and a rosary in the other. And after her came another queen who carried 12 pregnancies. And one of those births changed the future of England forever. Number 7. Mary of Modena. Mary of Modena's life was a storm wrapped in silk. She was an Italian princess who married James II of England when she was just 15. For more than 20 years, she faced one heartbreak after another, 12 pregnancies, most ending in miscarriage or stillbirth. Every time the court whispered that God had cursed her, but in 1688, everything changed. She finally gave birth to a healthy boy, James Francis Edward Stuart. That single baby shook an entire empire. People called it the warming pan baby, claiming he was smuggled into the birthing room in a metal pan to fake a royal heir. It sounds mad now, but at the time it became one of the biggest political scandals in British history. Protestants feared that her Catholic son would restore Rome's power over England. Within months, William of Orange invaded. Her husband fled, and the Glorious Revolution began. Mary's newborn son, who should have been a future king, became a fugitive before he could walk. Mary spent the rest of her life in exile in France, surrounded by portraits of the children she lost. She never stopped dressing as a queen, even when she had no crown. The French called her the White Widow for her beauty and endless sadness. But from that fall of one mother's crown rose another, a queen whose womb became Britain's greatest sorrow and whose story rewrote the royal bloodline forever. Number 6. Queen Anne. Queen Anne's story is one of the saddest in royal history. Between 1683 and 1700, she went through 17 pregnancies. And not one child lived to adulthood. Some ended in miscarriage, some in stillbirth, and a few lived only hours. The longest lived was Prince William, Duke of Gloucester, who died at just 11 years old. Anne loved him deeply. When he died in 1700, she collapsed, both in body and spirit. She wrote that her heart was torn from her. After that, her health broke down, gout, obesity, depression, yet she still ruled Britain during one of its most crucial times. She became queen in 1702, leading a kingdom that had recently merged with Scotland. Parliament and power shifted, but behind every decision was a woman grieving for the family she never had. Her doctors once said her body was a graveyard of children, a cruel but true reflection of her pain. What's strange is how her tragedy shaped an empire. Because she had no heir, Parliament passed the Act of Settlement, 1701, which banned Catholic succession. That law changed British history, leading to the Hanoverian dynasty and eventually Queen Elizabeth II centuries later. Anne died in 1714, bloated and broken, surrounded by servants instead of children. She ruled for only 12 years, but carried 17 lives within her. And after her came another mother, whose many sons didn't die young. They turned against each other and drenched England in blood. Number 5. Philippa of Hainault. Philippa of Hainault came to England as a teenage bride for King Edward III in 1328. She was kind, clever, and only 14 years old when she married him. Over the next 25 years, she gave birth to 13 children, and 5 of them were powerful sons who later tore England apart. Edward adored her. Chroniclers say he never took mistresses while she lived, which was rare for kings. She followed him on campaigns, even into battle zones. During the siege of Calais in 1347, she famously knelt before him to beg mercy for the city's prisoners, and he granted it. The people loved her for that. But behind that gentle image was a mother whose womb created rival dynasties. Her sons, Edward the Black Prince, Lionel of Antwerp, John of Gaunt, Edmund of Langley, and Thomas of Woodstock, each left behind families hungry for the crown. Their descendants fought in the Wars of the Roses, 1455 to 1487, turning brothers' bloodlines into battlefields. All of it began in Philippa's nursery. She ruled quietly beside her husband for 4 decades, often managing England when he was abroad. By her death in 1369, she'd buried several of her children and seen plague sweep through London, killing millions. Her tomb at Westminster Abbey still bears her gentle face, the mother who unknowingly birthed a century of civil war. But the next queen carried even heavier grief. 17 children, 17 heartbreaks, and revolutions raging outside her palace walls. Number 4. Maria Carolina of Austria. Maria Carolina was only 16 years old when she married King Ferdinand of Naples in 1768. What followed was a life of power, danger, and 17 births in 20 years. Between 1771 and 1793, she went through pregnancy after pregnancy, ruling her kingdom while giving birth almost every single year. She wasn't just a queen, she was the sister of Marie Antoinette. The two wrote letters filled with both love and fear. When the French Revolution began, Maria Carolina watched in horror as her sister was executed in 1793. That same year, she lost her own baby, her 17th child, and reportedly didn't speak for days. Unlike most queens, she wasn't content to sit quietly. She built spy networks, plotted with diplomats, and even formed the anti-French coalition that fought Napoleon's rise. But the strain of motherhood and politics broke her health. Out of her 17 children, only 7 survived into adulthood. Some died of smallpox, others in childbirth, the curse of royal bloodlines. One of her daughters, Maria Theresa of Naples, married Emperor Francis II, linking their families even tighter with the Habsburgs. It was all strategy, babies born as political treaties. By the time she died in 1814, Maria Carolina had seen her family destroyed, her city invaded, and her sister's head falling to the guillotine. Yet she kept ruling through it all, a mother-turned-monarch who never stopped fighting. And then came another queen, one who gave birth 15 times and still felt like a prisoner in her own palace. Number 3. Queen Charlotte. Queen Charlotte married King George III in 1761. She was just 17, shy, and spoke little English. But over the next 21 years, she gave birth 15 times. 13 of those children lived. Her pregnancies became part of Britain's calendar. Every year or two, bells rang for another royal birth. She managed a palace full of children while her husband slowly lost his mind. George's mental illness, likely porphyria, grew worse with each passing year. Charlotte tried to hide it, protecting both her husband and the crown, but behind closed doors, she lived in constant fear. She once wrote, "I am more of a nurse than a wife." Her children filled every corner of Europe. One became King George IV, another William IV, and her granddaughter would grow into Queen Victoria. Charlotte also left quieter marks. She supported Mozart, expanded Kew Gardens, and introduced the first Queen's Christmas tree to England. But all that came at a cost. She often said she felt like a prisoner to maternity. 15 pregnancies, countless miscarriages, and endless court duties. Even when she grew old, her life was bound to her husband's illness and her children's scandals. When she died in 1818, she'd been queen for nearly 60 years, longer than any woman before her. But while the world saw her as Britain's mother, she died feeling forgotten in her own palace. And then came a woman who turned childbirth into a political weapon, one whose children didn't just inherit kingdoms, they reshaped Europe itself. Number 2. Maria Theresa. Maria Theresa of Austria ruled an empire that stretched across half of Europe, and she did it while giving birth 16 times. Between 1737 and 1756, she spent nearly 2 decades either pregnant or recovering. Out of those 16 children, 10 survived, and each one became a tool of her political genius. She didn't just marry off her kids, she placed them like chess pieces. Her daughters married kings, emperors, and dukes, tightening the Habsburg grip on Europe. Her most famous child, Marie Antoinette, became Queen of France, while another daughter ruled Parma. Diplomats joked that her womb was more powerful than her army, and they weren't wrong. She expanded her empire through marriage, not war. But she paid for that power. She lost her beloved husband, Francis I, suddenly in 1765, and never wore color again. She ruled for 40 years, signing every royal decree herself and working late into the night, sometimes with babies sleeping beside her. Even her relationship with Marie Antoinette turned tragic. She wrote letter after letter begging her daughter to behave wisely in France, but history took its own path. When Antoinette was executed in 1793, those letters were found hidden in a chest, her mother's voice haunting her from across Europe. Maria Theresa died in 1780, leaving behind an empire, 16 children, and a dynasty that lasted until World War I. And then came a queen who broke every record of all. Her body never rested, and her country suffered with her. Number 1. Maria Luisa of Parma. Maria Luisa of Parma lived a life that blurred the line between crown and curse. Between 1771 and 1794, she went through 24 pregnancies, the most recorded for any European queen. 14 of those babies were officially documented, but most never lived long enough to be named. Every year, the bells of Madrid rang for another royal birth, and too often for another funeral. She married Charles IV of Spain at only 14 years old, and from the start, her life was ruled by duty. Her main task was to fill the Bourbon bloodline, but each childbirth made her weaker. Historians say her doctors sometimes forced early deliveries just to try again sooner. That's how brutal royal motherhood could be. By her 10th pregnancy, Maria Luisa had lost her health, yet she kept going. She gave birth while moving between palaces, sometimes in traveling carriages. The Spanish court called her La Madre de España, but whispers said the king's favorite, Manuel Godoy, might have fathered some of her children. Her most famous surviving son, Ferdinand VII, would later become king and drag Spain into years of chaos. So even her surviving children brought trouble. When Napoleon invaded Spain in 1808, Maria Luisa fled into exile with Charles and Godoy. She died far from her throne in 1819 after spending nearly half her life pregnant. Thanks for watching Legends of History and Heartbreak. If stories like these make you rethink what power really cost, hit subscribe and stay with us. There are more hidden lives, buried scandals, and untold empires waiting in the next one.